Cinderella, a magical journey of kindness, courage, and love. Once upon a time, in a quaint village surrounded by rolling hills, lived a kind-hearted girl named Cinderella. Her golden hair shimmered in the sunlight, and her eyes sparkled with hope, even though her life was filled with hardship. After losing her parents, she was left in the care of her cruel stepmother and two mean-spirited stepsisters, Drizella and Anastasia. They treated Cinderella not as family, but as a servant, forcing her to cook, clean, and do all the chores while they lounged in luxury. Despite their cruelty, Cinderella remained cheerful, often finding comfort in singing and talking to her animal friends. Birds chirped back at her as if they understood every word, and mice scurried around her, eager to help. Her small, makeshift room in the attic was filled with warmth because of her kindness and positivity. One day, the peaceful village buzzed with excitement as a royal messenger arrived on horseback, holding a golden scroll. He unrolled it and announced, "Hear ye, hear ye. By royal decree, every young woman in the kingdom is invited to a grand ball at the palace. The king seeks a bride for the prince, and all eligible maidens must attend." Drizella and Anastasia squealed with delight. "This is our chance to marry the prince," they cried. Cinderella, too, felt a flicker of hope. "May I go, stepmother?" she asked shyly. Her stepmother smirked. "You? Attend the ball? Don't be ridiculous. You don't even have a dress." Cinderella's heart sank, but she refused to give up. She found an old dress in the attic, tattered but still lovely, and began sewing ribbons and beads onto it. Her animal friends worked alongside her, carrying bits of fabric and thread. On the evening of the ball, Cinderella presented her finished dress. "Look," she said, her eyes shining with pride. But Drizella and Anastasia were jealous. "How dare you try to outshine us?" they shrieked, ripping the ribbons and beads from the dress until it was in shreds. They left for the ball, laughing cruelly, while Cinderella collapsed in tears. Suddenly, a warm light filled the room. Cinderella looked up to see a woman with a kind smile and a shimmering wand. "Who are you?" she asked, wiping her tears. "I'm your fairy godmother, dear," the woman replied. "And I'm here to make your dreams come true." With a wave of her wand, the fairy godmother transformed a pumpkin into a magnificent golden carriage. She turned 6 mice into elegant white horses and a rat into a proud coachman. Then, with another flick of her wand, Cinderella's ragged dress became a stunning ball gown that glittered like starlight. On her feet appeared delicate glass slippers that sparkled with every step. "Oh, it's beautiful," Cinderella exclaimed. Remember, the fairy godmother warned, the magic will only last until the stroke of midnight. You must return home before then. Cinderella nodded and climbed into the carriage, her heart racing with excitement. At the palace, the ballroom was filled with young women in dazzling dresses, but none caught the prince's attention until Cinderella arrived. As she stepped into the room, all eyes turned to her. The prince, mesmerized by her beauty and grace, immediately asked her to dance. Cinderella and the prince danced all evening, laughing and talking as though they'd known each other forever. For the first time in her life, Cinderella felt truly happy. But as the clock began to strike midnight, she remembered the fairy godmother's warning. "I must go," she cried, pulling away from the prince. "Wait! I don't even know your name," the prince called after her. Cinderella ran down the grand staircase, her glass slippers clicking against the marble. In her haste, one of the slippers slipped off, but she didn't stop to pick it up. She leapt into the carriage just as the clock finished striking 12. As she raced home, the magic faded. Her gown turned back into rags, the carriage became a pumpkin, and the horses turned back into mice. But in her hand, she held the other glass slipper, a reminder that the evening had been real. The next day, the prince declared he would marry the woman whose foot fit the glass slipper. His servants carried the slipper from house to house, trying it on every young woman in the kingdom. When they reached Cinderella's home, her stepmother locked her in the attic, determined to keep her away. But Cinderella's animal friends sprang into action. The mice stole the key from the stepmother's pocket and brought it to Cinderella, freeing her just in time. Cinderella rushed downstairs. "Please, may I try the slipper?" she asked softly. The stepmother laughed. "You?" As if it would fit. But when Cinderella slipped her foot into the glass slipper, it fit perfectly. The prince's face lit up with joy. "It's you," he exclaimed. Cinderella smiled. "And I have the other slipper," she said, pulling it from her pocket. The prince knelt before her. "Will you marry me?" Cinderella nodded, tears of happiness streaming down her face. On the day of their wedding, Cinderella arrived at the palace not as a servant, but as a beloved princess. She and the prince lived happily ever after, and Cinderella's kindness and courage became legendary throughout the kingdom. And so, the story of Cinderella reminds us all that no matter how difficult life may seem, kindness, courage, and a little bit of magic can make our dreams come true.